A 2K rating recap for February 1st and the 2nd, Sunday and Monday's games. There were 10 on Sunday, 4 on Monday. I just figured we'd just combine the two. And then we also have a lot to discuss league-wide. All-Star reserves were announced on Sunday. We've got Player of the Week for last week. Those were announced. Player of the Month for January still not out yet, I believe. Hopefully that'll come out either today or tomorrow. And then also the trade deadline is coming up. We have a new player that has recently hit the trade market. We're going to discuss them at the end of the video. So let's just start off with the All-Star reserves. I have this on the all players portion of the roster. I deleted all of the classic players in order to get these guys to show up like classic free. I wish there was just a separate sub menu of like I just want to see only active NBA players when it says all players. Like considering 2K stopped making classic teams anyway, like it's just kind of weird up top where you have these players that aren't really scaled the same way that like the current players are. You have like 5 different versions of Michael Jordan. It's just like too much to actually be, just if you want to only look at the league itself, looking at the older players is not always the most relevant thing. So I went through and I deleted all of them. Don't worry, I'm not going to hit save. I think, I don't know how much people engage with classic content. I know like my brother, whenever he played like NBA Live and stuff like that, he would always start these fantasy drafts with everybody and just combine, classic players with the current players, things like that. So I don't want to delete all of those players just for no reason. But for the purposes of this video, going down the All-Star brackets and stuff like that, I thought it was at least worth being able to look at each position individually and just look at the league itself rather than like bounce back and forth between all the teams. So starting off with the Eastern Conference reserves, Donovan Mitchell probably should have been a starter, in my opinion, over Tyrese Maxey. He's been awesome this year. He was an easy first ballot for the coaches. Norm Powell also, so kind of surprisingly, I thought made the All-Star team. And then those are the two guards. And then front court players, we had Jalen Johnson, Karl Anthony Towns of the Knicks, Pascal Siakam. Some people were surprised by this just based on the Pacers' record. And then Scotty Barnes and Jalen Duren of the Pistons, giving them a second All-Star. It's worth noting that Giannis will require an injury replacement. So among the players in the East that did not make it, Michael Porter Jr. stands out. He's had a really good year. Evan Mobley has slipped some, but he was All-NBA last year. I'm not sure if he will be healthy for the All-Star proceedings, though, so I feel like that in itself just could have him snubbed. He's currently out he'll be reevaluated in 1 to 3 weeks, which just kind of makes me feel like he is going to miss the All-Star game and wouldn't be pushing to play in the game anyway. And then also a lot of people were apparently upset that Brandon Ingram didn't make the All-Star team. Where is he? He's underneath a lot of other guys. I don't necessarily agree with that. His efficiency hasn't been the greatest, but and the Raptors already have another. They took Scotty Barnes instead, so I wasn't really on board with that. Realistically, it should be like Franz Wagner should have been an All-Star the last 2 years, but he's always hurt at the wrong time. And some people were saying that Joel Embiid should be on the All-Star team as well. He's missed 20 games, so he just hasn't really played enough to actually qualify. I'm sure some people were also surprised that Bam Adebayo missed it. They took Norm Powell instead of him. He's been healthier. I've just been, they wanted to reward him. He almost made it last year with the Clippers. So the bar in the Eastern Conference in general is just always a little lower for All-Star than it is in the West. In the West, you typically have like these franchise top of the league cornerstones, which was the case years ago with your Kobe Bryants, etc. And now your Tim Duncans, your Kevin Garnett's all played in the West, Dirk Nowitzki, and then that became later on Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, and now it's Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Victor Wembanyama. Like these guys are all auto locks to make the All-Star team in any given year. So The threshold for making the All-Star team in the Western Conference always much higher than it is in the East. A lot of the worst All-Stars that we've ever seen, like the weakest, like the 12th man taken, we've had a lot of Kyle Korvers and things like that. Jamal McGlore's, a lot of those guys are always in the Eastern Conference for one reason or another. But going over the West reserves, we've got Anthony Edwards, um, who essentially, was the number six guy, as like he really should have been a starter. But again, they're just so loaded in the Western Conference. Anthony Edwards, Jamal Murray makes his first All Star team. Well deserved. He had been one of those guys who, similar to Franz Wagner, he'd always been hurt at the wrong time. So he makes it this year. Devin Booker made it mostly on the back of Phoenix being a surprise team this year. I'm not as high on Booker himself as he's they're winning right now without him. He's currently sidelined with a sprained ankle, and they've gone 3-1. Haven't really missed him at all. He hasn't really led to like winning, like on the court so much as like the rest of the team is just playing a lot better defensively, and that has very little to do with him specifically. Dylan Brooks, if anything, is like really the unsung hero of that team. Not that I'm recommending Dylan Brooks for the All-Star team or anything, just that he's really been the biggest difference maker on the Suns versus like Devin Booker last year versus this year or any other year that he's really played. But he is a name brand, so he makes it. Chet Holmgren, some people have been criticizing this, but at the end of the day, he's the best defensive player on the best defensive team, and OKC absolutely should be taking two players to the All-Star game, I think. Kevin Durant, he makes it. Basically him making it comes at the expense of Alperen Sengun, who was the Rockets representative last year. Sengun basically last year was that year's version of Devin Booker, where they were a surprise team and people felt like they needed representation at the All-Star game. He was probably like the 14th best candidate for All-Star that year, rather than like the 12th best. So this year, kind of nothing's really changed. It's basically at the same rate that he was at last year, but some players made the team this year that didn't last year, etc. Like Denny Avdia, he's another player who makes the All-Star team for the first year. He's really broken out and established himself as one of the best young forwards in the NBA, certainly. And then also LeBron James also made the All-Star team, which is a little controversial. A lot of people feel like it's he's just making it not based on what he did this year. I wouldn't have really taken him to All-Star based on what he's done so far this year. He's obviously missed some time with the injury to start the year, but at the end of the day, he is one of the megastars of this generation, and it could be his last All-Star game. It's not a given that he's going to play next season or anything. So it's kind of like when Michael Jordan made the All-Star team when he was with the Wizards at the at the late stages of his career. It's a celebration of the game's greats. He deserves to be there. What they really should do is just expand the All-Star rosters, because it's very clear that like there are so many snubs from year to year that there's no way that you can only be honoring 12 players. We should really be honoring 30 at the current rate. There are 30 teams in the league now. And if we just went down the list itself, the biggest snub in the Western Conference is easily Kawhi Leonard. I don't know why for LeBron to make it over Kawhi is actually kind of insane. It makes me think that something's going to go down with the Clippers are obviously hosting the All-Star game this year, and the aspiration stuff is we haven't gotten much news on it lately. I expect because a lot of Pablo Torre, things like that, like guys like that, are going to dump a whole lot of news during All-Star weekend, because that's when they're going to get the most clicks and stuff like that. So we haven't gotten much on that lately. I imagine that the league will also make its decision on what's going to happen with Kawhi and the Clippers and everything with their investigation. All of that is going to come after the All-Star game. So in part, like I think maybe again, I'm not in the league, and the coaches are the ones who do the voting, but it does seem intentional that Kawhi wasn't voted for, because he has again just had a better year than LeBron in general. He's played 4 more games, and the Clippers are they've been one of the hottest teams aside from that first month of the season. They're I believe 17-4 or 17-5 over the last like 22 games or something like that. So yeah, very very surprising, at least on paper, why Kawhi, uh, why he did not make it. Uh, James Harden is the next highest rated player who didn't make it. Some of that is just like his legacy, like his badges. Like 2K just loves. Uh, he's a very extreme player in the way he plays, and 2K just kind of values that a little higher than some other guys. I don't think like Jamal Murray. They're having similar years on par, but just so much of like what Harden does is so extreme with like his shot creation that it does like prop him up just a little bit over everybody else. Joel Embiid is the next highest rated guy. Obviously, this is also discounting players like Damian Lillard, um, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jason Tatum, who are dealing with season. They're out for the year with injuries. Actually, I should say Anthony Davis also is a player who could have gotten All-Star consideration, but just hasn't played enough games, and he's currently sidelined anyway. He's basically in the same boat as Joel Embiid, just has not played enough for him to get considered. Austin Reeves had a very strong start to the year, but I believe he's only played 18 games on the season, so he's been out for like the last 6 weeks. He's been supposedly he's been questionable to come back over like the last week or so. So we'll see how soon he gets back to action. But the Lakers have been trudging along without him. He was instrumental in helping keep things together while they dealt with injuries, but likewise they've also played well while he's been sidelined. Michael Porter Jr. The Nets have just won 12 games. You're probably choosing between him and Pascal Siakam at the end of the day. Um, I think with Siakam, he has more of a history of being a higher level player. Was an All NBA player last year. Pacers made the finals. I think that also factors in. The All Star game is more or less at the 50 game point of the year, so it's like the first 60% of a season, and then the stuff that happens after kind of gets baked in a little bit by the coaches um, who do the voting. Like for example, the year I always remember in 2005 when the Pistons won the title in 2004, and the only All-Star that they had that year was Ben Wallace. But then the following season, the Pistons had 4 All-Stars because they wanted to reward all of those guys. So, and it's also similar with like Chet Holmgren, in OKC. They won the title last year, so they definitely want to honor him not just for this year, but also for what he did last year during the playoffs. So Michael Porter Jr. doesn't really have the track record that Pascal Siakam has, even though Porter's probably had a better season overall. We'll see. The trade deadline is on down the pipeline. Porter could be playing for another team and end up in the playoff mix again. But yeah, just based on how things have gone with the Nets, and he has been missing time here and there. They have been holding him out of games. He hasn't played at nearly as much as Siakam has. Siakam's played 48 of the Pacers' 50 games so far this year. Jimmy Butler, he's out for the year with a torn ACL. Otherwise, he had a great case to make the All-Star team. Towns, he's been a little limited this year, but again, the bar in the Eastern Conference is much lower. If it was in the West, he would not have made it. He's had a worse year overall than like Alperen Şengün. Kyrie Irving, obviously another player out for the year with the ACL injury. And then De'Aaron Fox is like where you really get to this threshold of, we're not really, if he was in the Eastern Conference, like anything under a 90 is like you're talking about an Eastern Conference All-Star, which is funny when we see Trae Young, Evan Mobley, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, LaMelo Ball, Jalen Duren, who made the All-Star team this year. All of these guys are upper 80s. They're not like stars. So yeah, De'Aaron Fox really didn't get any type of like All-Star buzz this year just because of how deep the West is. If we went over to just point guards itself, he's not even top 10. And most people would hold him in lower esteem than, say, James Harden, for example. Um, yeah, I think the lowest rated All Star I have is Jalen Duren at an 88. Let's just verify, and Chet Holmgren as well. Um, oh no, it's Norm Powell actually, which makes some sense because he's the most surprising All Star, I would say, out of the bunch. Anyway, that's about my top 40-ish players in the NBA. So let's hop on over to the players of the week in the Western Conference. We've got Dillon Brooks, who averaged 29 points per game, shot 55% from three, and took the Suns to a 3-1 record in the absence of Devin Booker. So I've got him up at an 87 overall. That's +5 from where 2K Sports has him at. They'd actually dropped him in the most recent roster update, but some of that was just because prior to this week, Brooks had been ice fucking cold on the year. Not on the year, but on like the last his like 2 weeks prior to this current week where he was the player of the week. His last 2 weeks were like his worst of the season. He had the 4 worst shooting games of his season during that 10-day span. So he's averaged 29 over the last week. Very streaky player overall. 15, only a 15 player efficiency rating, which again just kind of goes into, how streaky he is. At the end of the day, he's only average efficiency on the year. 56 true shooting on 28% usage. So he's 11% usage higher than he was last season, but about the same efficiency overall. So this is something that he, when he played for the Grizzlies the year that like Ja Morant was hurt, I think it was this year, 4 years ago, where he ramped up his usage rate, although it didn't really, his efficiency isn't really affected whether he's in a low usage role or a high usage role. So might as well just keep him in the higher usage role, right? At least that's what he likes. He prefers to like be involved on the offensive end. Some players are just better at shooting off the dribble and things like that than they are off the catch. So Brooks definitely one of those players. Focusing in on the badges that he's got. Because he was a role player for the last couple of years, he didn't have a lot of his shot creation badges got removed. 2K has restored some of them, but they haven't gone nearly as hard as they really should have on some. So, in reverting Brooks back to like a secondary scorer type of player, from where he was like a fourth, fifth option with Houston the last couple of years. Where is it? Set shot specialist. I've knocked this up to a gold. A post fade phenom. This is actually a big improvement for him. This is +2 up from a bronze. 2.6 fadeaways per 36 minutes he's taking, which is double the rate of last year. So, yeah, he's taking 2.5 per game on his fades. Shifty shooter. This is also a +2. I use pull-ups and step-backs to kind of measure this for me. 6.6 attempts per 36 minutes between his pull-ups and step-backs. That is triple last year's rate. So you could see last year, the last couple of years with the Rockets, he was playing a very corner shooter specialist type of role, whereas now he is creating a ton off the dribble. And then Deadeye, it's a +1. He always has taken a lot of contested shots, but again, double the rate of last season. Lightning launch, again, he wasn't even isolating at all. Not doing a lot off the dribble over the last couple of years. So again, this is more or less reverting him to where he was that year in Memphis. 2.4 isolation possessions per 36 minutes. Limitless range. I actually added this to him. He's 4 of 8 on 30 to 34 footers this year, versus 4 of 12 for his entire career. So he's already matched that just basically this season alone. And that's kind of like once a player is hitting that many. I mean, the season's not over yet, and he's already hit 4 of those. So like 1 every 10 games or so, he's hitting one. That's like a bronze. He's not obviously Steph Curry, Dame Lillard; those are the guys in like the Hall of Fame range. But if you're doing it every now and then, that's basically a bronze in the way that 2K is doing this badge. Um, Post up poet, he is getting 1.3 post touches per 36. So again, he's not just doing it while facing up the basket. He is doing it with his back to the basket. Also recall that his fadeaway rate has increased tenfold. So that is something that he's probably doing on those post ups as well, utilizing the fade. And I did add handles for days just because of how much he is spending on the ball, like actually dribbling the ball. Again, I think he was at 2.6 isolations and then 4.7. I didn't write this down, but I think it's 4.7 pick and rolls per 36 minutes. So that's about like 7 or 8 possessions that he's doing, like facing the basket off the dribble. So I think bronze is at least appropriate for that. That's a pretty high rate for a small forward. So just overhauling his badges a little bit. I did knock him up to an 87 overall. And then Brandon Miller is the kind of similar player to Dillon Brooks as well. He's the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. I did knock him up to an 86 overall, which is no change from where 2Ks got him at. Miller averaged 26 points over the last week, shot 50% from 3, and took the Hornets to a 4-0 record. On the year, he does have a 17 player efficiency rating, so higher than Dillon Brooks, but Dillon Brooks is the superior defensive player, so that's why he has a higher rating despite worse overall statistics. 56 true shooting, though, on 29 usage, which is basically right there with Dillon Brooks. So similar type of offensive player, really. He's doing a lot off the dribble. A lot of mid-range jumpers. Brooks is not the best finisher in the world. He's got an 80 layup rating and a 50, I think 50 or 55 dunk rating. I've got him at, whereas Brandon Miller is kind of the inverse of that. 65 layup is low. He's only like 46% from the field on his layups, but he is a much more athletic finisher, so I've got him with an 85 dunk rating. So overall, he is a better finisher than Dillon Brooks, certainly capable of finishing with more power and athleticism. But yeah, he's doing a lot off the dribble. For the month of January, he shot 43.5% on threes, and he's making 3.4 per game over that stretch. He shot 52% on twos, so not quite as efficient as Brooks, obviously, on that end. Him being inefficient on his drives, limiting that number somewhat, but also 92% from the free throw line in January. So just in general, he's really ramped up his shooting efficiency over the last month. Averaged 22 points in January. I know that we're talking about his player of the week, but he is much improved this month, and that's reflected in the Hornets' record overall. They were 11-7 this month, 11-6 in his 17 games, and he's averaged 22 points per game over this month. I'm going to back out of the roster, which is going to revert the classic players and stuff just to get this update required garbage off the screen. And then we're going to hop into the games for February 1st and the 2nd. So we had 10 games on Sunday, some hugely lopsided blowouts. I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, but we did a trade analysis video on the Cavs-Kings trade of DeAndre Hunter and Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, as well as the Hawks trading Vic Krejci. So we're not going to break down those trades here, even though they did happen on the same day on Sunday. So just be sure to check out that video if you haven't already. Let's start off with the Celtics. They moved to 31-18 on the season. I did write down the score. They stomped on the graves of the Milwaukee Bucks, 107-79. This was plus 28-point differential. Jaylen Brown leading the way with 30 points and 13 rebounds. Anthony Simons off the bench with 27. He was 6 of 10 from 3. Milwaukee, season low in points for them, but not the lowest of the day for a team. Ryan Rollins led the way with 25. Kyle Kuzma 16, those guys combining for 41 of the Bucks' 79 points. Team overall shot only 35%, 29% from three. Bobby Portis and Miles Turner combining for 6 of 21 from the field, 1 of 6 from three, so they really didn't get anything from their front court in this one. Detroit, they absolutely stomped the Nets, 130 to 77. That's a 53-point differential. They moved to 36-12 on the year. Jalen Duren found out he was an all-star during the game. He had 21 and 10 in only 24 minutes in this one. Cade, 18 points, 12 assists, 26 minutes, and then Donis Jenkins in his extended garbage time just continued to pouring it on. He had 18 points in 20 minutes to take advantage of the Nets. Hey, Jenkins was a better point guard than he's probably a better player than anybody the Nets have that even played in this game, to be quite honest. Porter was out for this one. I would be shocked if he played again until after the trade deadline. No sense putting him at risk of injury when they might be, getting something for him. So as a result, the rookies that they ran out there in this game, they just got absolutely dog-walked by the best team in the East. Yegor, he was at shooting guard again, had 3 points in 15 minutes, 0 for 4 from three. Traore started next to him, 5 points, 2 assists, 4 turnovers, 17 minutes, 2 of 7 from the field, so they got absolutely dumpstered. Danny Wolf, he had 6 points, starting again for Michael Porter. 6 points, 10 rebounds, 2 of 9 from the field, was a minus 43 in 29 minutes. Ben Sarath continues to be just absolutely useless. 4 points, 0 for 5 from the field. Drake Powell was the best rookie in this game. He and Cam Thomas had 12 points off the bench to lead the team in scoring. Claxton was the only other player in double figures with 10. Just absolutely disgusting. Hopefully the Nets do something with their roster in the next 72 hours. Going over to Miami, they moved to 27-24. Oh, by the way, the Nets dropping to 13-35 on the year. Heat, they moved to 27-24, destroying the Bulls, plus 43 in this one, 134-91. Davion Mitchell made his return. He had 13 points, 6 assists in only 21 minutes. Bam had 20 and 9 in only 22 minutes, and Khalil Ware gets some extended run. I say extended. He got like his normal amount of minutes thanks to the garbage time. He's been in Spoelstra's doghouse for the last 2 weeks or so. 17 points in 18 minutes for him. Chicago, they are extremely shorthanded up front and just overall across the roster. Kobe White is the starting point guard for them, led with 16 points. Matas Buzelis basically didn't show up. 2 points, 1 of 7 from the field, minus 37 in 21 minutes. Yuki Kawamura played 27 minutes in this one. That's how out of hand the game was. He had 6 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists in those 27 minutes. So fan favorite, but not really an effective NBA player. He did miss. He was expected to make the team out of camp, but then they uncovered a blood clot issue, so they did cut him. And then as soon as he was cleared, they re-signed him to the two-way. So he'll just hang out and give the fans, the fans who love rooting for 10th place basketball in Chicago, it'll give him something to pay attention to, I guess. Certainly not anybody else on the team. Dario Saric and any of all the rest of the players that were acquired via trade over the last day. They were not available yet for their teams. So Saric, though, he probably does figure into their rotation, just given how short-handed they are, especially with injuries in the immediate. So let's go on over to Toronto. Finally, a single-digit point differential. They moved to 30-21 with a 107-100 win over the Bulls. Barrett had 21 to lead the way. Mamu with 20 off the bench. Ingram with 19. Utah, they dropped to 15-35. Keontae George was out for this one with a sprained ankle, so Isaiah Collier got the start. He had 19 points, 7 assists. Svi Mikhailiuk off the bench finally for the first time this year. The Jazz started Cody Williams and Ace Bailey on the wing. Cody had 10 points for 5 from the field. Ace, not quite as good, 4 points, 11 rebounds, but 1 of 10 from the field. Svi, for what it's worth, still played 30 minutes off the bench and had 8 points. Lauri Markkanen led the way with 27 and 11. Yusuf Nurkic was also back in the lineup, and he double-doubled with 11 points and 13 rebounds. We'll see if he still is playing for the Utah Jazz by the end of the week. Washington, they got a win over the Kings, 116 to 112. They moved to 13 and 35 on the season. Alex Sarr did not even play in this game. That's how shitty the Kings are for the Wizards to win this one. Will Riley had a career high 18 points to lead the way. AJ Johnson had a season high 17 points. The Kings didn't even lose to the rotation regulars of Washington in this one. They lost to their B team. Sacramento, they dropped to 12 and 39 with this loss. Sabonis, I believe, was out, but in general, like the 9th straight loss for them. They're a veteran team with a worse record than the fucking Washington Wizards. That's just absolutely disgraceful. Again, without Russell Westbrook as well. So DeMar DeRozan actually got the start at point guard essentially in this one. They started him and Levine together in the backcourt. 32 points, 5 assists for DeRozan, 35 points for Levine. Maybe the last game that those two ever play together. We'll see again what happens at the deadline. But yeah, what a fucking disaster it's been for them. DeAndre Hunter still not available after coming over in the trade. So I will temporarily deactivate him. I imagine he'll probably play in their next game, but we'll see. Sometimes teams will wait to acclimate a player, like let them get a practice in, etc. Who knows what the process is in Sacramento, if there is any. They allowed the Wizards to shoot 52% from the field, by the way, which is how DeRozan and Levine combined for 67 points, but they still lost to the Washington Wizards. New York Knicks, they moved to 31 and 18 with a 112-100 win over the Lakers. OG Anunoby had 25 in this one. Landry Shamet with 23 off the bench. He was 6 of 10 from 3. He's been really good since returning from injury. Has essentially knocked Jordan Clarkson out of the rotation entirely. The 6 of 10 from 3, by comparison, the non-Luka Lakers were 7 of 28 from 3. So the Lakers did not shoot well at all in this game. They dropped to 29 to 19. Luka had 30, 15, and 8. LeBron had 22 points, 6 assists in what might have been his last game ever at Madison Square Garden. DeAndre Ayton, 13 points, 6 of 6 from the field, but as has been the case for the Lakers over the last, really the entire year, they just continue to struggle to get anyone else going offensively besides their top perimeter guys. And DeAndre Ayton, anytime he's able to get easy buckets at the rim and stuff, the three-point shooting has been very wax and wane. And I did mention their stats before. Rest of the non-Luka Lakers were 7 of 28 from 3. San Antonio Spurs, they got a nice win over the Orlando Magic. 33 and 16 they are on the year now. 112 to 103 over the Magic. Wemby was just absolutely dominant in this one. 25 points, 8 rebounds, had 4 steals and 5 blocks. Castle was out for this one, so Harrison Barnes returned to the starting lineup, essentially shifting Devin Vassell back down to what's essentially his natural position at the 2. I would not be upset if the Spurs moved off of either Fox or Castle in a potential trade. The name that they've kind of come up in like the Giannis trade talks, etc. Certainly they have like the young players. At some point they are going to have to trade Castle or Fox. I'm sorry, not Castle or Fox. Castle or Dylan Harper, as neither one is like a great outside shooter. Neither is Fox really, but he's like just good enough to be passable next to Castle. But we'll see what ends up happening with this young core. Obviously, the Spurs it's a huge luxury for them to have like the number 2 overall pick is coming off of their bench right now. Magic, I don't really have a ton of notes for them. Just that Desmond Bane, he continued his strong play. He had 25 points to lead the way. Again, he's been playing a lot better over the last week or so. Going over to Cleveland, they've been playing better over the last couple weeks, and we'll see how they do post-trade. They moved to 30-21 on the year, 130 to 121 over the Blazers. Jarrett Allen with a career high 40 points, 16 of 23 from the field, 8 of 12 from the free throw line. So he stepped up in a major way. They are, of course, relying heavily on him while Evan Mobley is sidelined. Sam Merrill, 22 points, 6 of 8 from 3. Jalen Tyson starting at the 3, 19 points, 4 of 4 from 3. So Tyson ultimately was one of the players that really made DeAndre Hunter expendable. He seems entrenched in a starting role over the rest of the season. Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, of course, as mentioned, not available yet for the Cavs. Darius Garland has come up in trade talks. I'll talk about that at the end of the video once we get to that team. But they beat the Blazers. The Blazers dropped to 23-27. They have started slipping in the standings a little bit ever since Denny Avdia was out for this one, and he's been dealing with a back injury over the last like two, maybe 3 weeks or so. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's able to play in the All-Star game, etc., because he's had just in general an awesome year overall, aside from this back injury that's hindered him somewhat. Shaedon Sharpe got the start at point guard as Drew Holiday was also out. He had 20 points, 3 assists. Caleb Love coming off the bench with 21 points. He's eventually going to make it onto a standard contract. OKC, they moved to 121. They moved to 39-11 on the year with a 121-111 win over their division rivals, the Denver Nuggets. SGA with an MVP caliber performance, 34 points, 13 assists, 11 of 16 from the field, 11 of 13 from the free throw line, out-dueling fellow MVP competitor Nikola Jokic. Casey Wallace had 27 points, returning to the starting lineup, 7 of 11 from 3. Isaiah Hartenstein returned to the starting lineup as well to match up with Jokic. Had 4 points, 5 rebounds, 22 minutes. Not the greatest line, but he's not really a stats player in general. And Chet Holmgren moving back to the 4 for the first time all month. 14 points, 3 blocks for him. The Denver Nuggets. Jokic was huge in his first game back. A lot more muted in this one. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, but did have 6 turnovers. OKC, of course, has a lot of experience playing against Jokic in the playoffs. They know how to defend him and make his life hard. Jamal Murray also struggled in this one. 12 points, 12 assists. He did ramp up his playmaking in the absence of Jokic, but he was 4 of 16 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3 in this one. Peyton Watson led the way with 29 points, 11 of 17 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3. He's a low-level, most improved player candidate. And then we're going to hop over to the February 2nd games. There are 4 of those to break down. So the Hornets, they're 23-28 now with a 102-95 win over the Pelicans. LaMelo led the way with 24, but only 8 of 20 from the field, 3 of 14 from three-point range. Brandon Miller, 16 points, but 7 of 21 from the field, 2 of 12 from 3. Those two combining for 15 of 41 from the field. But on the surface, that's not, on paper, that does not sound great, but 5 of 26 from 3, 10 of 15 from 2, that means. So they were efficient inside the arc, just the 3 ball was not falling at all for them. Hornets overall were 12 of 50 from 3, only 24%, but they held New Orleans to only 39% from the field, and the Pelicans, they aren't a volume three-point shooting team either, so they were, I believe, 11 of 34 from 3 off the top of my head. So they, even though the Pelicans took, even though the Hornets shot so poorly from 3, they still hit more threes than the Pelicans overall. So they won the math battle. They shot 40% from the field. The Pelicans shot 39%. Murphy, he ended his cold streak he had 27 points, going 10 of 20 from the field. But Saddiq Bey, He was cold in this one, 2 of 12 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3 for 8 points. The point guardless lineups, probably their best defensive lineup overall, and probably their best lineup overall, but it has hurt their offensive continuity, and that has shown up with some of their shooters being a little streakier than they were before. The Rockets, they moved to 31-17 on the year with a 118-114 win over the Pacers. KD was out for this one, so Alperen Sengun led the way against the Pacers team that, of course, has always throughout the year given up big lines to opposing centers. So Sengun taking advantage of them in this one. 39 points, 16 rebounds, 7 of those offensive, 5 assists, 13 of 25 from the field, 13 of 18 from the free throw line. So stepping up in a big way with KD sidelined. Some would say that Sengun was snubbed for All-Star, but I disagree for the reasons stated prior. Reed Shepherd, 11 points, 5 assists. He got the start in this one, but he was only 4 of 13 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. He got the start essentially at the 2 with Tari Eason shifting up to the 3 to fill in for KD. Indiana, they dropped to 13-37 on the season. Siakam moved back to his traditional position of power forward rather than center. He had 27 points, 5 assists. Jay Huff, playing at the 5 in this one, had 6 points, 2 blocks, but was in foul trouble. Played only 12 minutes, had 5 fouls. Isaiah Jackson played more minutes with Huff in foul trouble, but he likewise had 5 fouls himself. He had 6 points, 4 steals, 2 blocks in 25 minutes. Jarris Walker continued, even though he's hit the bench in this one, he still played a fair amount, played 23 minutes overall, had 12 points. We'll see what happens. I anticipate that Siakam's I'm probably not going to change his position. They do have enough 5s on this team that they prefer not to play him at the 5, but there are certain matchups where they've clearly shown that they aren't afraid to do so. Ben Mathurin, for what it's worth, had 25 points off the bench. We'll see if he's still a member of the Pacers in a couple days. Memphis, they ended their 6-game losing streak with a 137-128 win over the Wolves, moving to 19-29 on the year. 7 Grizz in double figures. Most notably, Jaren Jackson Jr. had 30, but Ty Jerome made his second consecutive start. He had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, only 21 minutes once again, so he is filling up the stat sheet. Looks like he could be, if John Morant ends up getting traded, he is somebody that is going to be comfortable filling in and producing at a high level in however minutes that he gets. Minnesota, they dropped to 31-20. Ant led the way with 39. McDaniels had 29. DiVincenzo, 21. Julius Randle with 19. But aside from those 4 guys, really the scoring is not there for the rest of the team. So teams that like the Grizz, who can get scoring from a number of different players, there's a little bit of an interesting dichotomy between the offensive strategies of these teams. The Sixers, they got a nice win over the Red Hot Clippers. They moved to 28-21 on the year. 128-113 was the score. Maxey with 29 points. Dominic Barlow, career high 20, or just a career night in general. Massive line, 26 points, 16 rebounds, 10 of those offensive. 10 of 16 from the field. Played 35 minutes. Incredible that this guy was on a 2-way contract to start the year. Him and Jabari Walker probably should have been on standard contracts somewhere. Awesome night from Barlow. Obviously, he's getting converted as soon as they can. And it goes to show that Paul George being out for 25 games does not mean that the Sixers are any worse for wear. Joel Embiid, 24 points for him as well in 32 minutes, I believe. So he's continued to play at a high level, playing at certainly an all-star caliber level, which is why he's back in the 90s. We'll see how long he's able to keep it up for. He just needs to stay healthy for the playoffs. That's really all anybody cares about. VJ Edgecombe, for what it's worth, poor shooting night for him, 5 points, 1 of 11 from the field. So that'll keep his shooting ratings kind of in the mediocre range. Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, of course, the All-Star snub, had 29 points for in this game. Just going to show that he just doesn't care. He's going to bring it on an every night basis. Jordan Miller off the bench, 21 points, 9 of 10 from the field. He's been awesome over the last month. Kobe Sanders got the start. He had a nice shooting game, 17 points, 7 of 10 from the field. Starting for James Harden, who's been out for the last 2 games with personal reasons. We find out that he's apparently requested a trade. As usual with James Harden, it comes down to his contract. The Clippers are winning games, but he don't care about that. He cares about his next contract. He's only guaranteed, I believe, either 11 or 13 million on his 42 million for next year. So he is looking for an extension, and LA is not willing to give it. He's 36 years old. They are going to be transitioning into a new era once they have nobody on the books basically on their team in 2 years except for Ivica Zubac. So they are going to flip their entire roster. That was part of the logic of why they didn't want to extend Norm Powell and why they traded him for John Collins. Is they just prefer having a ton of flexibility. They're in LA. They have the great ownership, air quotes, because we'll see if they're around or if they're suspended because of the aspiration stuff. But and this huge new stadium, all the things that LA has going for it are, even after the aspiration stuff blows over, it's still going to be a great location that players are going to want to flock there. So they want to obviously just don't want to commit to a roster that for the most part has had kind of up and down success. They capped out as like a second round team when they were hoping to win at least a championship, or if not, a conference finals at the very least. So Harden, he's looking for his next contract because he obviously wants to continue his career and wants to continue making 40-ish million dollars. He values his bird rights more than maybe any other player in the league, and it feels like there's a little bit of a pattern with him where he goes to teams and he only spends like 2 years. That's because it's always about the contract, and these teams never really like him enough that they want to commit to him long term. So he just ends up he's been bouncing from team to team, just basically for that reason. So he's been linked to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland, and that would actually make a lot of sense. Cavaliers are a second apron team, so they have a lot of restrictions in terms of what they are able to do trade-wise. It would basically be a straight-up trade. It's worth noting that the Clippers are not or rather Harden's. The Cavs are not the only team that the Clippers are talking to about Harden, so that's just one possibility, but that is the biggest one that's come up so far publicly. Garland, he makes less money than Harden, so I'm sorry, he makes more money than Harden, I should say, which is why they're legally able to trade. Because if he was making more, they would not be able to. The Cavs need to shed salary in any trade that they make. They can only make 1-for-1, or rather, not 1-for-1, but they can't aggregate players in trades. They can't combine players, basically. So it has to be 1-for-1 or 1-for-2, things of that nature. And they obviously are trying to duck money once Evan Mobley's extension and everything kicks in, as that's going to push them into second apron territory for the foreseeable future. So they are looking to move off of Lonzo Ball, Max Strus via trade, and Garland, moving Garland for the lower salary of James Harden and the shorter commitment also. And in general, like if they did re-sign James Harden, he would probably be making less money than what Darius Garland is set to make over the next 2 years. So I think it makes sense in that regard. And the Cavs kind of are in a win now-ish kind of mode, just based on like the age of Donovan Mitchell and some of their other players. They do have Evan Mobley for the future, but they could definitely reset and rebuild around him. But for the most part, while they are a second apron team, they are very much win now. So I think philosophically, it makes a lot of sense for both teams. Garland, he's a two-time All-Star. He's only 25, so he's somebody that could bridge the gap of the eras. It's not the worst thing in the world for him to be on the books same time as Ivica Zubac. They could definitely move him or both of those guys via trade. Uh, I think the value on their contracts is not the worst. Um, Garland, if anything, is maybe getting, it's another all-star point guard who's on the block. And we've seen teams that are running like these no point guard lineups. Trae Young was not valued at all in trade. Guys like John Morant. In general, like the point guards who are defensively limited, who can get attacked defensively, they just don't have the value that they used to, because you can still have a higher level offensive team without having that type of a point guard. Chris Paul's final year in the league is, I've said we're going from the point god to the point gone, because it seems like players of this ilk are more or less just being phased out league wide. And the Cavs being willing to consider trading Garland, I think is just another example of that. As far as like the fit that like Harden and would have with the Cavs, I don't want to speculate too much because again, this trade hasn't happened, but it is very interesting, and like the biggest thing that's come out over the last like 12 hours or so. It's kind of shades of. Let's actually just make the trade just to see what it would look like. Oh, god damn it. How come I could trade injured players previously? Can I do that? Interesting. Okay. So you can trade injured player for non-injured player, but you can't trade injured player for for injured player. Okay, 2K, sure. All right. Anyway, so Harden for Harden next to Donovan Mitchell. They're both pretty ball dominant. Mitchell, it would kind of be like similar to like the Brooklyn Nets when they were in their Big Three era, where like Mitchell's essentially like a better version of what Kyrie Irving was, while Evan Mobley is kind of a good facsimile for KD, given that he's a lanky, long forward. Obviously, nowhere near comparable offensively, but I think the theory of the team makes more sense than the Big Three Nets, where they had three elite perimeter players and like none of them did anything. They still needed guys who could do the dirty work in the front court. So having Mobley actually makes more sense for putting together a winning team than having a player like Kevin Durant, because Mobley gives them that kind of all defense guy who can also score inside and muck it up a little bit. It's also worth noting that even though I just traded him for the sake of like displaying it, let's get him. Let's get Jarrett Allen back on the team. Jarrett Allen, for what it's worth, ironically enough, never got to play with the Big Three Nets, so that would put him together with James Harden. Allen was, of course, one of the players traded to. I actually forget who they got for him. Was that in the Kyrie trade, or was it the KD trade? Or was it the Harden trade? I can't remember. I think it was the Harden trade. I think it was a 3-team trade. Like my brain is like, that was already like a pandemic ago. So let's just revisit that trade real quick. I know he got traded with Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert, if memory serves. Traded to the Cavs for, this is such a massive deal too. Yeah, it was the James Harden trade. It was like a 4-team trade too. Jesus Christ. So yeah, that's what I was misremembering. So they would be reunited. Harden, I think he fits well with Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen's a pretty good lob threat. It's just offensively, Mitchell would have to do a little less on the ball, but I think that's fine. We've already seen him do that a lot with Utah. Right now he's been playing point guard essentially out of necessity because of the injuries to Garland. I think they do prefer, he probably does prefer to play more off the ball. So yeah, this would be very interesting to me, and like for as much flack as Harden gets defensively, he is a bigger player. He's not somebody like his weaknesses on defense are not the same weaknesses that Darius Garland has. Darius Garland gets attacked because he's small. Harden just isn't paying attention half the time, but when he actually is, forced into like one-on-one defense, he's not the worst. He just has terrible help instincts. The more you're asking out of him on offense, the less he's going to be paying attention and kind of taking it easy on the defensive end. So anyway, that's a lot that we broke down over the last very interesting time of year, pre All Star, pre trade deadline. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and some of the not so much. I did a little bit of breaking down Dylan Brooks' badge updates and stuff like that, but a lot of my focus over this week is really going to be just making sure all these teams are looking good with the once the teams are making trades, just making sure I have updated ratings for all the traded players, things of that nature. Because I think right now is when a lot of players are going to be coming back to the game because teams make trades and players want users want to play with the new players in the game. So be sure to check out the roster. Real 2K roster is the modern era. And again, I do want to have once I qualify for YouTube subscriptions, which I still need like 1,000 more watch hours in order to qualify for that. So the more that you watch the videos, it does help. Once I get to not subscriptions but memberships is like the tier that I'm like next to unlock. Once I have tiered memberships, that's when I'm going to start to put the whoever's a member is going to be able to access the Real 2K rosters spreadsheet that I have. So if you're interested in that, being able to get access to that, keep watching the videos, keep liking them, hit the follow, subscribe buttons, share it. I will see you guys later tomorrow. Peace out.